All right, you guys can hear me? All right, cool. So today we're gonna go over Vision versus Nightmare. Now, reason why I say these two because they're completely opposite, and a lot of people, when it comes to goal setting, right, whether you're a coach, whether you're someone who is setting goals for yourself, whether you're trying to help plan for the next year, because I know New Year's comes around, and a lot of people usually tend to do this vision board on New Year's, which, don't get me wrong, I love it. It's a great idea. But I'm going to kind of introduce what a nightmare board situation kind of looks like, right? So you can get both positive and negative reinforcement. So the vision board, while it's good for some people, right? If you've done it before in the past and it hasn't worked for you, maybe you've done a vision board and you haven't even come close to it. The doing another vision board isn't going to get you to your goals because what ends up happening is you have this fake dopamine that every time you talk about your goals, every time you say you're going to do something but you don't, you still, because that vision is so crystal clear, you get dopamine from the reward without actually having put in the work. So talking about your goals, while it is important to have to be very clear, crystal clear on exactly what it is that you're looking for, it's also needs to be aware, you also need to be aware that your motivation shouldn't just be on setting the goal, right? On this vision, because that might not be enough for you. And, that while it might be nice to think like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna get shredded with six pack abs and do all these goals. Like the average, I'd say like 99% of the world, they talk about their goals, but no one really talks about, what ends up happening if you don't reach that goal. So here's what happens, right? You set a goal, you feel good about the goal, and you know, if you allow it, your brain's gonna end up tricking you into thinking that you've actually accomplished that goal, and that ends up leading to inaction. It's the reason why like 99% of people they fail on New Year's from setting their actual resolutions. So, with that being said, is that we want to almost give you like something to run away from as well, right? So, positive reinforcement's good, but adding in negative reinforcement just you make yourself twice as likely to actually achieve your goals. Reason why is because, when I had a mentor and he asked me like, what was it that like motivated me? What was my why? And I gave him my why and I was like, yeah, like this sounds great, but it doesn't sound like, scary enough. Like that goal doesn't sound scary. If your goals don't scare you, you're thinking too small. So from that day on, right? Of course, the downside of not getting to your goal, right? Like what happens if you fail? Because positive reinforcement, it shows you what you're gonna gain and it might feel good. But with negative reinforcement, it also shows you what you're going to lose and it forces you to confront what's uncomfortable in the reality of inaction, right? So sometimes the fear of loss is more powerful of a motivator than the hope of gaining, right? Now, of course, anytime like you fear something, I recommend that you use that as a rule of compass just because anytime like your brain is designed to keep you safe but not necessarily happy. Meaning that if you're comfortable and safe staying, let's say you've been overweight, maybe not even overweight, let's just say you're okay with just being in shape, right? But just being normal, like being average. If being average doesn't scare you, right? Like you have to really like paint the picture of what it means to be average and ask yourself if you want that life. So, and that alone, like there should be a black and white of do you want to live the rest of your life average or, or even if you're striving for average, maybe where you're at currently. So somewhere along the line, whether you're feel like you're average, feel like you maybe you're subpar, or maybe you're doing great, but the fear of or the pain of not being where you want to be to being even better than yourself. Like once you get to the point where you just become your own competition, like you know that you've made it because there's no one else at the top. It's just you. All right. So this right here, you got your nightmare board. All right. This is like I want you to visualize in action. The reason why is because this right here is going to show you like mo if being fat, lonely, and poor and doesn't just unsuccessful, miserable, like if that doesn't motivate you just as much as your vision board does, like I don't know what to tell you, but this right here is it's gonna help you visualize what happens if you don't wake up, when the alarm hits. It's gonna visualize what happens when you skip a workout, whenever you decide to, settle for a decent relationship, is what's gonna happen when you settle for a decent paycheck, maybe a decent job, and you want to give yourself this vision board. It should be like a nightmare and vision board like side by side. So that way you can see right next to the vision like what happens if you decide to press snooze and what happens if you decide to call in sick to work or if you decide to stay complacent. So not even and not just the cost of failure, right? But lost opportunities. And the reality is that most people will never regret failing, but not even giving themselves an opportunity to win is the regret. Like, it's okay if you fail, it's okay if you mess up, but not moving and staying stuck is it's worse because you can't even fight for an opportunity to win. You lost. Now, whether you can take this lesson, whether you're in the fitness space, whether you have a business, whether you're in sales, this is something that you have to be okay with. Like the moment that you start to tell yourself, like, man, my closing average is like 50%. I hope that this person bails on the call with me. Like no, like you cannot fear failure. You cannot fear rejection. You can't fear like, oh, I hope I don't I don't see any girls at this party because I don't want to have the opportunity. I don't want to get rejected by whatever reason. So now that's the nightmare, okay? Like nightmare situation should be what happens if you play it safe, what happens if you play small. Vision is what happens if you reach your goals. Like what's best case scenario? What is and it should be so like it's not enough to just want to lose some body fat. It's not enough to just want to gain some muscle. And the reason why I say this is because whenever you whenever you tell yourself I'm gonna reach a goal and you don't reach it, you're teaching your brain that it's okay to not get to where you promise yourself. And it's okay to not double down on what your goals are. And that if you set big goals, like it's okay to like play it safe and to change them up. So you want to rewire your brain into thinking like that, like there's no way I'm going to fail because if I fail, this nightmare situation of me being average or me being stuck where I'm at, it sucks. So there's no way. Like I'm gonna die trying. Like, have something to live for, but also have something to worth dying for. The dichotomy of these two is going to give you so much more motivation than you believe because if you're okay with where you're at in life, like, and you don't want to take things to the next level, like you stopped living. Like you right there, like that's when you stopped having, like you stopped caring, right? And like what's a life worth living if it's just gonna be mediocre? Like dude, I've never met anybody who has wanted to live their life as an NPC. That's just the way I want to call it. So if you resonate with that, this right here, because it happens to everybody. Like even when you think you're doing good, like even and the reason why I say this is because, right, earlier this morning, I was like, you know what? I've been saying I wanted to start in an investment account, like, a Roth IRA or some kind of ROA, and I just haven't done it. I just haven't done it. But the cost of inaction was costing me so much more because it's been like I told myself that when I was 18, when I was 19, so I said, fuck it, I'm on the treadmill. Let me go ahead and set up this account. And I did that like today, like on the spot. So I was like, there's no way, like, I'm not going to get this done. So even again, messy action is always gonna be better than not moving at all. And I want you guys to like not only know this, but live it and preach it. All right, with everyone you know. Because I know some 30-year-olds who they haven't even opened up a credit card. So like what kind of credit score are they gonna open up with when they wanna if they want to get to their goal of owning a home or raising a family? Like they're so far behind. So not only do you need to get super specific on what your vision is, but you also need to get super specific on what it is that you're risking if you don't take action. Like if you don't decide to move forward with your goals, if you don't actually put one foot in front of the other. All right? And the reason why like fear is more powerful than hope and is because that there's like the first part of our brain is the amygdala, and that's fear. So like it's our biological response, and that's another thing too is that our brains are designed to keep us safe. Okay? So we're trying to like work our way into our natural way of thinking, which is, well, are you safe? Like, are you safe with where you're at today? Because if you're not, then you should get out of there. Like if you're in hell right now, if your life feels like hell, like run, get out of there. So, with that being said, you know, if you're someone who is motivated by the pain of today, this is good for you. If you're someone who's motivated by the pain of tomorrow, like, like not being where you want to be, this is even better for you. Because now, like, not only do you have that vision board, but you also have right next to it the consequences of fail of just not even not no action. What I mean by failing is failing to take action. All right. So with that being said, all right, messy action wins. Okay. I want you guys to remember this, and if there's ever something that I want you guys to write down is just messy action is always better than no action. Like people who are successful, like the person who wanted to start their fitness journey wasn't the person who waited till their diet got right, till they had a perfect schedule, till it was January 1st, and they had all their ducks in a row and yeah, no, like that doesn't happen, and that's not life. Same thing with a business. Like, do you think that, a business owner waited till like they had their last big paycheck from their 9 to 5 to start it? That no, like the reality is that there's gonna be life that happens, maybe like just and you can't plan for it. So just start. All right, whatever it is, like get super specific. Like look at your vision board, right? Like so, and I was like looking at mine the other day, and that's like yesterday, yeah, 2 days ago, and that's what really got to me. I'm like, all right, like I have to get this investment account started. So I want you guys to make sure you write down those goals, so that way you don't find yourself having to like never do it, right? Like it's already long enough that you have to wait a year to reach all your goals, right? But at least get it done within the year, right? Like plan it out, right? On your vision board, it should show your quarterly goals in different areas, right? Your fitness, your finances, your relationships, your spiritual goals. And then not just quarterly goals, right? But then break them down into monthly goals, right? So for the person who wants to like start a successful business, they have to like maybe do the market research. Like that's a quarterly goal. And then, or my bad, that's a monthly goal. Maybe their first quarter is that they just want to get it started up and running. And then at the end of the year, they want to be successful. But the more that you break it down from top to bottom, the easier it like those goals seem. So you're more likely to like maybe make like three different drafts of the same vision board. But just get it done. That's the point, is that you just need to start, and when it comes to making that vision board, right next to it should be just a list of like kind of painting the consequence of like what happens, like what happens if you stay stuck with where you're at. All right. So the vision, fear, and then action right behind it. Having both is going to really help you out. So, and if you guys want to take a screenshot of this or a picture of this, just so you can have an idea of how your vision and your nightmare side should look like. So, maybe like on the nightmare side, you can find images of the consequence, sleeping in, skipping workouts, binge watching Netflix. And don't get me wrong, I love Netflix, like, but at the end of the day, you guys have to know and be super aware of what your vices are and know like you're gonna fall wherever you lean. So if you lean more on the vision side, you'll be more successful. But if you find that your life is more slowly, like maybe you've been sitting on your desk for like long periods of time, you might think you're productive because you're getting work done on your laptop, but the reality is that like you're starting to become more sedentary, and before you know it, you're skipping meals, and then before because you think you're working so hard, and before you know it, like now your metabolism is shot and you're overweight, and then look at that, you just became the nightmare side because you neglected your fitness. Like now you're this fat, overweight person who's sitting at a desk and like hasn't touched grass and will need like dopamine to get them through the day, needs caffeine just to for energy for fuel. And that's another thing too is like the world there's gonna be full of distractions. Like not even when you think you're doing that you're productive, like whether even if you think that you're productive inside your business, you're not. Like you think you not everything is moving your goals forward. So you have to make sure that you get super specific on what your vision looks like, right? Like find images of the physique, the energy, the life that you're fighting for, just visual representations of success. All right, if and it's like what happens if you win, and like what's the next step? Like what's possible? Like like why is it important that you win this year? Why is it important that you win the month? Like where does everything lead to, and what builds on top of another? And on the nightmare side, what happens if you quit? What happens if you don't even try? And it should you should very much have clarity at the end of that assignment. With that being said, I'm gonna leave the floor open to any questions, but take a picture of this and feel free to ask me anything else from here. All right.